Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is about what I like to call my ultimate revision technique. This is a revision technique I've developed over the last few years using a lot of trial and error, and I think I've finally got it down. This is what I use to revise now, always. And so I thought I'd just share it with you. This video is kind of going to be in two halves. So the first half is about what I do throughout the year to make revision resources and make it easier for myself in exam period to just get going with revision. And the second half of the video is about what I actually do in exam period to really learn the information and consolidate all the facts I need to know. And before I start talking about the revision technique itself, I just want to make it very clear, this is not a cramming technique. You cannot do this a night before an exam. I mean, there's elements of it that you can, but mostly it needs to be something that you do sort of throughout the year, especially from the start of exam period. It's more of a long-term way of learning information, and it's more sort of catered towards subjects or courses where you have a big bulk of information that you need to learn, like lots and lots of content, especially science subjects that are more heavily going to be assessed with exams at the end of the year, so there's going to be loads of content that you need to learn and have in your head, as opposed to doing coursework throughout the year. So a bit of background about me. I got 10 A stars at GCSE and 1 A. At AS I got 4 A's in biology, chemistry, maths and English literature, and at A-level I got A star, A, in biology, chemistry and maths. So the A was in maths. And then first year at university we didn't get a mark as such because the first year didn't count for us, but if I sort of tried to average up my percentages, I think I got about 2% off first. And then this year, second year of university, from my January exams, I got a first. So hopefully I'm sort of working at the level of a first. So hopefully that shows my technique is kind of working and could be useful. So without further ado, I shall get started. So I think being able to revise well stems from having made really good notes throughout the year. So I'm going to start by showing you my original notes that I make in lectures. This could also be compared to notes that you make in lessons at GCSE and A-level. So, are you ready to have a look at my original notes? You're not going to like them. I mean, they're terrible. It's pretty much the most boring set of notes you could possibly imagine. It's literally just pen on paper, scruffy handwriting. Now, if you came to exam period and they were the notes that you had, I feel like you'd have to do a lot of work to make those notes into something that you could actually learn from. I cannot learn information from black pen on white paper, just written. I just can't. I need colour, I need pictures, I need different forms of presenting the information. So that was step one of note making. That was in the lecture, in the lesson. So what I do then, and I try to do it throughout the week of those lectures, so I'm sort of staying on top of it all the time, is I transfer those notes into these amazing books that have changed my life. This is a lot, I've just realised. And what these are books that have all my notes in a condensed form. So I kind of take out bits of information that I just don't think really are necessary, or take out bits from lectures where it's just been quite rambly and disorganised, and I put it into a format that makes more sense in my head. And I also add colour and I add pictures, and so it's so much nicer to read them. I'll give you like a demo of what they look like. So this is just an example. You can see I've got some pictures, colour, boxes. It's especially useful for things like diagrams. You can make them look so much neater. This takes a lot of time to go through all your notes and condense them. And then if you want to add an extra step into your revision, you can, just before and for revision, for example, like a mock exam or something, not the main exam, but something you just want to refresh your memory, you can then go through and highlight and add colour, and you can use that as a way to sort of go over your notes but still be doing something proactive. Because all these techniques I'm showing you, they're never reading, they're never just reading your notes or just flicking through, because some people can learn like that, but I can't learn information. I have to be proactively doing something, whether it be highlighting, underlining, circling bits, or actually writing sections. So that's kind of why I like to write them all up into these books, and because they're so nice to revise from. I need to just have a little shout out to my friend Charlotte, because she actually first came up with this idea to transfer all your lecture notes into notebooks, so it's kind of down to her that I do this. So thanks, Charlotte. So next step, you've transferred them all into notebooks. Now, as you're getting nearer to exam time, so you don't necessarily have to keep on top of this like week by week, but if I do spot while I'm condensing my notes that there's sort of things that I'm not going to be able to learn from written prose, I transfer them onto a different kind of revision resource. So these could be posters or flashcards. So here's an example of my flashcards. I use these for short, snappy bits of information that I'm not going to be able to just learn from a list. So for example, if we do A-level chemistry, when I had to learn the iron colours, I was never going to sit there and look at a list of all the colours with all the ions and just know it. I had to keep testing myself and be able to pick one out at random and then turn the flashcard over and know what the answer was. I use these for anatomy, so when we learn a muscle, for example, and we have to learn the muscle attachments and the nerve that supplies the muscle and the function of the muscle. So I would put the muscle onto the flashcard, and then on the back I'd have just brief information. So I make these throughout the year if I can, so that during exam time I'm not sitting making resources, I can just use these to test myself. Yeah, flashcards are so nice to revise from, and they're good because you can get someone else to test you, or you can test yourself. And that's a good way to repetitively go over information, rehearse it and learn it nearer the exam. But yeah, if you can, I would make flashcards throughout the year so you don't have loads that you need to make in exam period. Another form of revision resource I make throughout the year are posters. So posters can be good to present information in a different way if you feel like you're not going to be able to learn it from being written, or you're not going to learn it well from flashcards because there's too much to put on a flashcard. This one is a cranial nerves poster, so we have to learn all the 12 cranial nerves and their names and where they originate from in the brain and where they exit and what they do and lots of information about them. So I make a nice coloured poster which has each one on it, and so I can just stick this on my wall, for example, and have a look at it every now and again, and you just keep picking up bits of information. And then also it can be good for people that have a photographic memory, because then in the exam, if you need to remember a certain thing and you know it's on that poster, you can almost use, for example, the spatial organisation of the poster or the colours you've used to locate in your brain where that bit of information was, and it can help you remember it. I don't know if that's just me or whether lots of people have that, but it helps me. And then I'm also a person that quite likes to categorise information. So we did a module on Parkinson's disease, for example, and I found it useful to categorise that whole module into different sections. And this can be helpful for essay exams, because then you have sort of different themes in your head that can sort of form paragraphs in an exam. So this is an example of my Parkinson's poster. So I've got Parkinson's in the middle, and then I've got sort of different aspects of the disease, different causations of the disease, all outlined on a poster. So that's everything I want to say about the pre-exam period time. So they're all the things I try to do throughout the year to prepare myself for exam period and to make all the resources I'm going to need. So when I get to exam period, I've sort of picked up along the way quite a lot of the information and the facts that I need to learn, just from having made resources and gone over it and rewriting it into books or rewriting it onto a poster or making the flashcards. But I haven't really used all these resources yet, and I haven't learned all the details of everything and all the content I need to know. So exam period is when I then start learning in bulk. And the main method I'm using at the moment to do this is a classic kind of cover, copy, check sort of method. So I'll, for example, get out one of my brown books and I'll set myself a timer for about 20 minutes, and I'll read as much of the book as I can in 20 minutes. And then when the timer goes, I'll shut the book, put it to one side, and then set the timer again for another 20 minutes and spend 20 minutes trying to write out as much information as I can. By this I don't mean perfectly rewriting what you've just read. I mean as fast as you can, just what I call it splurging, like splurging it out onto the page. Everything. So it doesn't have to be in prose, it could be a quick mind map. If there's sort of a process, you might want to number it and write in sequence how the process works. It could be sort of a quick diagram and then labelling a diagram. Anything that's getting you to recreate the information that you've just absorbed. And then once you've done this and the 20 minutes is up, you go back to the notebook and the notes that you had originally, and you look back and see anything that you missed out. And if you have missed it out, what I find useful is to then write it, so I have a list of all the things I missed. And then so next time I try to learn that bit of information, I'll also have in my head, oh, I remember missing out certain things and we're not going to forget them this time. So you can keep repeating that for all the content that you have. And yes, it takes a long time, and it takes a lot of discipline to stick to the 20 minutes. And it can be hard work to try and recreate the information because you're actively writing it from memory, and that's really requiring you to know the information and not just be able to recognise it. The other thing I do in exam period, which is so important, is doing past papers. All I can suggest is doing as many past papers as possible and making sure that you structure your revision timetable to allow yourself to finish learning information early enough so that you have a lot of time to do past papers, because this is where you identify your weaknesses and the things you need to go back and try to relearn. So that's what I do throughout exam period. And very lastly, the night before exams or a couple of days leading up to an exam, I try not to sort of stress myself out too much. I try to kind of stay quite relaxed and chilled about the exam, knowing that I've done enough revision, not just in exam period, but throughout the year to prepare me for this exam. And so often I'll just sort of read over my notes. I know that's quite passive, and I've been going on about doing active revision, but actually just passively reading can feel quite nice because you recognise a lot of the information. It kind of gives you confidence. Occasionally I might sort of have a notepad with me and just write a couple of notes of things that I think I could forget, just so last minute I've written them down and they've kind of gone into my brain a little bit. And morning of the exam I often do nothing really. I might read through a few notes, I might read through my list of things that I think I might forget, but otherwise just try to stay as chilled as possible, knowing that I've done enough work and I can't do any more and I'm prepared. So I hope this video was somewhat helpful. Like I said, don't cram. It's not going to be as effective, and yeah, you might have some things in your short-term memory, but you're not going to have the capacity of your long-term memory that's so much bigger. You can't just rely on remembering it the night before. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I'll be posting a lot more videos about revision and exam technique. Bye, have a great day.